All right, guys, we're out here today. Our apple tree is in bad shape. We have one here that the woodpeckers has pecked it full of holes, and it's just the blight has got into wherever the woodpeckers pecked on it at, and the water sprouts is starting to come up in it everywhere. And we're going to take our Songmic lopers, and we're going to try to get in here and see if we can't get some of these water sprouts off of this tree. We got to try to see if we can't get it straightened back up. We got some fire blight starting in it. I just got to take care of it. If I don't, the water sprouts are suckering the tree to death, and we're going to need to get that taken care of. So we're going to move in and start cutting some of these water sprouts out and show you what to cut off of a tree as far as water sprouts and what not to cut off. Now this one right here, guys, fire blight got into it. This one is dead, so there's no need in leaving it in here. So we're going to get rid of anything that's dead. We're going to cut it back there to where it's green at. So we're going to get that out of here. And two, all these trimmings we're going to be cutting off of this tree, we putting it in a trailer because we use that kind of stuff to smoke meat with, because it's apple. There's no sense in going buying apple when we have it. Now, we're going to look up in the tree here. We got these water sprouts coming up in here everywhere. These would just sucker the tree to death. So we're going to try to see if we can't cut them out of there. You want to cut them down, you know, pretty close to the trunk. Make good clean cuts. We got these old long ones here sticking up in here. We got to try to get to them. Get all this stuff out of here. I want to get up pretty close to the trunk here. I'm going to cut these off. Now let me might add that these limbs that we're cutting off here, if you raise rabbits, rabbits love chewing on these limbs. You cut them in about 8-inch pieces or something like that and throw them up in their pen. They literally love to eat the bark off of these. So it's another good source of food on the homestead for your rabbits. We also at the ground down here have lots of these sprouts that's coming up out of the ground. Now a lot of times I'll dig these up around the edge of them and go put them in pots, and I'll use these to graft trees to plant on my property with. But I've got so many apple trees right now around here grafted till I don't need any more. So we're going to start cutting them. We're going to cut below the soil line there. And we're going to get some of this stuff out of here, because all this stuff is doing is suckering the growth of our tree back. We've got to try to get some of this stuff up out of here. And you notice around this tree here, I have garlic chives growing everywhere. That's one of our insect deterrents that we use here on the homestead. And this here, I want to show y'all, this is where the woodpeckers, they get in here. They're just pesky little creatures. They get in here and they destroy our trees, and we're constantly having to fight that. They've pecked all my limbs up through here. You can look up these limbs. You see these limbs here, the woodpeckers has pecked them, and they slam into the wood, the heart of the tree, and they're trying to heal back over. They're literally about to destroy my trees here. Over here, they've pecked all up in here. And I mean, they cause disease to set in. It's just another one of the things on a homestead that we have to contend with. We're gonna keep getting some of these sprouts out of here. Try to see if we can't get this tree back in decent order. Burying these up in the, I know you don't need sticky things in the dirt, but we're trying to cut them a little bit below the soil line. Don't want them sticking up in the air. Okay guys, another time, see it's in the deep south here, it's mid-November, so it's time for us to do this and get this taken care of. We've got to get these things out of here and give this tree time to heal before next year. There's just lots of fire blight signs in the tree here. We got a sign right here we're going to cut back below the blight. Get that dead wood out. Another one right here. Okay guys, this is a prime example right here. This whole limb here, up here on the top part, is dead from fire blight. It has a little bit of green left in it in places, but the blight has mainly hit it because the woodpeckers has got in here and opened it up to disease. So we're thinking we may just go ahead and just take the whole limb off. Just to be safe, if this will cut that large of a limb. There we go. You can see how it's all dying up under here. Disease has got in, the limbs are just dead on it. The bark's starting to curl and roll back. The old fire blight's got in here. All this stuff like this, it's just dead. There's no life left in it. So we want to try to get all this stuff out of here before it actually spreads in the tree any worse than it is. And one of the things that we've learned about this is that high nitrogen fertilizers will actually lead to this. It happens to be right beside our garden, and okay, because guys, our gardens are so rich with nitrogen a lot of times, I think that may be playing a part in why this tree keeps getting the fire blight here. Pruned our apple tree back. Now, we didn't take everything off that we normally would have took off because we cut back most of our tree, and we wanted to see if some of the sprouts that's left on there, you know, we may have to use them to make some new branches out of for next year. But this thing, I mean, look down here on the ground. I've got, I mean, I cut so much of this tree off because it was just in bad shape. And I'm really afraid I'm going to lose the whole tree, to be honest with you. But I tried to cut it back as much as I could and give it as much of a chance to grow after the woodpeckers and the fire blight and everything's got in here. They just have destroyed this tree just over summertime, and it really saddens me because this was a really good producing tree, and now I may end up, you know, losing the tree because I had to cut over half the tree off just on the other side to try to salvage it. And I've left some of the water sprouts sticking up in it, trying to make some new limbs for next year. They look good and healthy. So we're going to see if maybe they might pull out. And we got rid of all these water sprouts that come up around the bottom, got rid of them all up in the tree here. So, you know, I mean, I've got, like right here, you know, I've got one right here, a water sprout that I left. It's simply because this limb right here, the woodpeckers pecked on the top of it to the point where it's starting to rot and decay. And if I have to cut this limb off, I'd like to have this sprout coming back out here to, you know, make me a new limb out of. But, you know, we just have to wait and see. It just saddens me that those woodpeckers can get in here and they just peck all up under the limbs. And it's not the big woodpeckers, it's this little tiny woodpecker. He's a little bitty bird, and you can see where he's been all around my tree here. And I've thought about putting some wire around it, but I can't put wire around every limb because they're up under here and all the limbs, and I mean they're everywhere. They just get up in the tree everywhere and just peck the fool out of it and try to destroy it. And now the disease has got into it, and I don't know if it's going to be salvageable or not. So I'm hoping that it is. So just want to take y'all along on a journey of, you know, what happens when a tree gets destroyed like this. And let's just see, maybe this coming season we'll do a video on whether or not we save this tree or not and see how it does. Thank y'all from Deep South Homestead.